Hello Tigers, and welcome to the TMNtv Newscast for Wednesday, March 20, 2019. Stay tuned for the latest news at Fort Hays State University and around Northwest Kansas and the nation. I am Lauren Davis, and Jenna Hawley will be here shortly with a look at what's going on around the globe. And Haley White will fill you in on what's happening in the sports world. But first, here's what's making news in Tigerland. Charges have been filed in the murder of a Hays man last month. 34-year-old Ryan Paul Thompson is facing first-degree murder charges in the shooting death of 26-year-old Diego Galloway on February 27th near 27th and Indian Trail. Thompson allegedly shot Galloway while having him in a chokehold. He faces a minimum of 50 years in prison if convicted. Thompson also was charged with possession of meth with the intent to distribute for having nearly 24 grams of the drug, and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. Both would add additional prison time. Thompson was convicted of aggravated endangerment of a child last year. He remains in the Ellis County Jail on a $750,000 bond. There's nothing but blue skies ahead for a woman hoping to develop land south of Hays. On Monday, the Ellis County Commission voted 3-0 to approve the Blue Sky Acres addition approximately 2 miles south of Hays. The proposed development has seen lawsuits against a former commissioner who halted the development going forward. That commissioner is no longer representing the county after last November's general election. Residents of the nearby Von Felt subdivision told commissioners they would like to have some say in the proposed development, but they aren't against it. They just want to make sure adequate water and drainage issues would be taken into account among a few other things. The developer of Blue Sky Acres, Mary Alice Unrein, had brought a lawsuit in the original dispute, but it was lost when a judge said then acting commissioner Marcy McClellan was within her right to oppose development. McClellan was voted out in the last election, according to the Hays Daily News. The development will now go to the Hays City Commission for consideration in April. While the land is located outside of city limits, it is within the city's 3-mile boundary. An inmate at the Lansing Correctional Facility will spend a little extra time behind bars after escaping custody in January. Cal Henry Green III is facing charges of escape from custody and theft for his January 7th escape and theft of a dump truck. He spent 3 days free before being captured in Independence, Missouri. Green's next court appearance is set for April 19th. He currently is serving time at Lansing for aggravated battery. He originally was scheduled for possible release in June 2023. Although that date likely will be pushed back with the new charges. A tweet from an employee at the Kansas Department of Transportation's South Central Division has led to the employee's dismissal. On Sunday, a tweet calling President Donald Trump a delusional communist was posted on the social media site. KDOT Secretary Julie Lorenz said the tweet was deleted from the account and it did not reflect the views of the organization. She said the employee was no longer employed by KDOT. 2 FHSU employees will present their research project at the 22nd Annual Crime Victims' Rights Conference in April. Mike Walker, director of the Docking Institute at FHSU, and April Terry, an assistant professor of criminal justice, teamed with members from Kansas State University for the research project titled Our Town, Our Kids: Blurred Boundaries and Working with Youth in Non-Metro Communities. A Fort Hays State student is making the most of her opportunity as a member of the Leadership Hays class sponsored by the Hays Area Chamber of Commerce. Chelsea Andrews, a senior from Bennington, is taking part in the program that ends in May. It helps develop leadership skills in individuals and challenges participants to implement techniques learned in their personal and professional lives. Andrews is one of 21 people participating this year. The group's final project will help benefit the children of Ellis County. When we return from this short break, Jenna will be here with news from around the globe.
I think there's a perception out there that web and mobile application development is this field where you sit behind a computer all day and code. And that's not it at all, right? And there's even a perception out there that geek is bad. But I think students should embrace their inner geek. We don't code all day. We look at issues, we look at problems, and try to figure out the pieces of the puzzle and how to put them together to build things.
I was able to learn JavaScript, HTML, CSS, PHP, just kind of the whole 9 yards with that. So I really enjoyed the full program that they offered here.
Anything that you're interested in, the field of web and mobile application development, there's a value to. There's nothing like what we have in the informatics department. If you choose to take everything in the buffet that we offer, you'll be very well prepared for any type of job opportunity that's out there.
Hello, Tigers. I'm Jenna Hawley, and here's what's going on around the globe. A massive storm bloated several rivers throughout the Midwest, causing hundreds of people to evacuate their homes. Some Midwest rivers reached record levels with the combinations of the storm and snowmelt. AccuWeather meteorologist Jim Andrews said Tuesday's storm won't match last week's bomb cyclone that triggered heavy snow, howling winds, and several tornadoes. But another inch of rain could hit areas that have no place for the water. According to USA Today, governors of Nebraska, Iowa, and Wisconsin have declared states of emergency. The National Weather Service said about 9 million people live in some 14 states where flood warnings are in effect as of Monday morning. The Supreme Court has made it easier to detain immigrants with criminal records, handing the Trump administration a victory in its battle against illegal immigration. On Tuesday, the court ruled that federal immigration authorities can detain immigrants awaiting deportation anytime after they have been released from prison on criminal charges. According to Fox News, a group of mostly green card holders argued that unless immigrants were picked up immediately after being released from prison, they should have a hearing to argue for their release while deportation proceedings go forward. The Supreme Court ruled against them in their 5-4 decision and also ruled that the government maintains broad discretion to decide who represents a danger to the community to decide who is released or detained. Dozens of people have been charged with paying bribes to get their children into top universities. More than 40 people, including TV actresses Felicity Huffman and Lori Loughlin, have been indicted in the scheme that allegedly involves students being allowed into top universities such as Georgetown, Stanford, and Yale as either recruited athletes or on inflated college entrance exam scores. According to the New York Post, federal prosecutors in Boston says parents paid William Rick Singer, an admissions consultant, $25 million from 2011 through February 2019 to bribe coaches and administrators in order to get their children accepted. Massachusetts U.S. Attorney Andrew Leland said there can be no separate college admission system for the wealthy, and there will not be a separate criminal justice system either. The FBI said 38 people have been taken into custody. Pressure is building for social media sites such as Facebook to end hosting extremist propaganda. In the wake of Friday's deadly attacks on 2 New Zealand mosaics that were live streamed, the nation's biggest banks have pulled their advertising from Facebook and Google. New Zealand's Prime Minister told Parliament on Tuesday, "We cannot simply sit back and accept that these platforms just exist, and what is said is not the responsibility of the place where they are published." According to Tribune, Facebook said it had been working directly with New Zealand police and across the technology industry to help counter hate speech and the threat of terrorism. The shooting video was viewed fewer than 200 times during the live broadcast. No user reported the act in that time, according to Facebook's vice president. The video was reported to the company nearly 30 minutes after it began and viewed 4,000 times before being taken down. A sex and corruption scandal in South Korea has caused the country's president to call for an investigation. President Moon Jae-in called for the investigation after a K-pop idol was questioned last week about alleged links to prostitution. According to Bloomberg, Moon said the case includes strong allegations of consent, backing, and favors for clubs by police and tax officials. The scandal has negatively affected the K-pop industry and the country. The K-pop industry is one of South Korea's important points for their economic growth. The scandal began in November with the Seoul nightclub Burning Sun. According to CNN, the nightclub faces allegations of bribery, violence against customers, rape, drug use, and trafficking. 3 former idols also were found to have been part of a chat group that shared various sexually explicit videos. The investigation continues as police look into the allegations against all 3 men. A gunman opened fire inside a tram Monday in Utrecht, Netherlands. Several people were injured and 3 were killed. Police made 4 arrests in the case, but 2 suspects were released from custody. One of those still detained, 37-year-old Gukman Tanis, is accused of the shootings. He has had several run-ins with law enforcement in the past. That's what is happening in the news world this week. Stay tuned for a sports update with Haley White when we return.
The Tiger Media Network is Fort Hays State University's independent student media organization. It's a student employment opportunity where you can work for either the news side or the sports side. So you can be on live sports production, which produces all of the live sports broadcasts that we do, or you could be on the news side and do news stories covering things on campus, so presidential announcements, Student Government Association. We bring that news to the student community and the Hays community as well.
You don't realize how much Fort Hays State has to offer until you're here.
I mean, it is definitely, this is the land of opportunity here.
I just got back from the MIAA tournament in Kansas City a couple weeks ago where we worked with other production crews including Pitt State and Central Missouri. And it's a great time. I've gone there the last couple years.
For me anyway, I get to do sports, which is what I love. And if live productions is where that's at.
This is the perfect place to do it. We have almost everything that you could possibly imagine.
Tiger Media Network allows you the opportunity to take the skills you've learned and put them forward in a real world, real application setting that allows you to flourish and grow as a professional, and that will only help you and benefit you when you graduate and go into the real world workforce.
Over 5,000 fans poured into the stands of Gross Memorial Coliseum Monday night for the NCAA Division II regional title game. Entering the contest for just the second time in program history, the number 3 Tigers faced 7th-ranked Southwestern Oklahoma State, who matched Fort Hays with a 32-1 record on the year. The Bulldogs jumped on the Tigers early in the contest, completing their first 5 field goal attempts as the Tigers struggled from the field during the first few minutes of the opening frame. Southwestern Oklahoma continued its shooting patterns in the same fashion during the second quarter, pouring in shots to reach an 18-point lead. But the Tigers bounced back with a 25-8 run led by Tatiana Leggett and Belle Barbieri, as both forwards each collected 7 during the run. Another second-half run, led by Hayden Pretty, set the tone for Southwestern Oklahoma State during the third quarter.
It was just falling for me, and thank goodness my teammates just kept pulling the defenders away from the rim so I could attack.
Fort Hays took one last jab at the Bulldogs during the final frame, going on a 13-3 run to trim the lead down to single digits. However, SWASU points at the charity stripe ultimately sealed the Tigers' fate during the regional title matchup as the Bulldogs pushed the lead back into double figures for the majority of the final quarter, ending the contest on top of the Tigers 88-77 and advancing on to the Elite Eight held in Columbus, Ohio.
You know, I just couldn't be more proud of my team right now. We've talked about a lot of things this year. I feel like we've spoke some things into existence, but the way they came out in that first quarter, man, I was really proud of their effort and their energy and just their fight and their will to.
I wouldn't want to do it with anybody else, with any other coaches. I mean, I'm just so happy that we're in the position that we are in right now.
Fort Hays senior Tatiana Leggett ended her outstanding collegiate career, producing her 10th double-double of the season while posting 19 points and 13 rebounds during her final contest as a Tiger.
I'd say my career here, playing with Carly, her time was cut short, and I don't know, I kind of feel a little bad getting emotional because that could have been me, and I'm thankful that I was able to go as far as I could. So I was really just playing more for her, which helped my game out a lot, and I just have the community to thank too, because they have a lot of confidence in me when I don't, and they make me better. And
another vital piece to FHSU during the regional title matchup was sophomore Whitney Randall, as she scored her career high of 20 points off the bench.
It's kind of easy for me to sometimes lose it, especially when we have such good other players, so I knew I just had to keep going at them and just get fouled.
The 32 wins FHSU collected this season is a new record for the program's D2 era.
It's a bad night, but it's by no means a bad year. I mean, this was a historic year. I mean, we broke so many records and won a lot of stuff. We just would like to win one more.
From Tiger Media Network, I'm Haley White.
FHSU men's golf ended the Hillcat Classic with an 11th place finish hosted by Rogers State. Mac McNish finished on top for the Tigers with rounds of 78, 79, and 76. The women's golf team traveled to Arizona over the weekend and competed at the Coldwater Golf Club to complete their second tournament of the spring portion of their schedule. Senior Hannah Perkins led the team with the second place individual finish, firing off rounds of 74 and 77. The Tigers are back at it next week when they travel to Wichita to compete in the Rockhurst Invitational on Monday and Tuesday, hosted at Crestview Country Club. March Madness is officially underway, and during Sunday's selection show, the two Division I universities along I-70 earned a number 4 seed in the tournament. Kansas State was placed in the South region of the bracket, where they will take on number 13 seed UC Irvine Friday afternoon on TBS. Placed in the Midwest region, the Kansas Jayhawks will face 13 seed Northeastern Thursday at approximately 3 p.m. on TNT. So far, Fairleigh and Belmont made it out of the first 4 contests and officially onto the bracket, as the Knights came out on top of Prairie View A&M 82-76, and the number 11 Bruins took the contest against Temple 81-70. The final 2 matchups of the first 4 contests will take place this evening, as North Dakota State takes on NC Central, followed by St. John's and Arizona State on True TV beginning at 5:40 p.m. That concludes this episode. Tune in next week for another episode of TMNtv. To stay up to date on the latest news and information throughout the week, visit tigermedianet.com. Until then, remember, roar Tigers!